God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got a short video for you today as we have some news that has been breaking late in the day today. But I'm going to have a second video that I'm going to upload later this evening, so keep your eyes open for that. It's going to be a movie review. I'm sure you're going to like it. So there was a shooting at a newspaper in Annapolis. This is from CBS Baltimore. At least 5 people are dead and at least 3 others were injured after a gunman opened fire inside the building that houses the Capital Gazette. Law enforcement officials said the shooter, a white male in his 20s, is being interrogated by police after he was taken into custody. However, he will not identify himself and did not have identification on him. The suspect also damaged his fingertips in an effort to avoid identification. Now, this is where the conspiracy theorist in me wants to have some fun, but I think I'm going to skip over that at this time. We're just going to stick to the facts as they currently are. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this county correctly. Anne Arundel County Police Department spokesman Ryan Frazier said the suspect was armed with what was described as a long gun, but did not give any further details on the weapon used in the shooting. CBS News is also reporting that the suspect had fake grenades, smoke bombs, and flashbangs on him when he was arrested. There was no gunfire exchange between the suspect and officers when they took him into custody, Frazier said. Now, at this point in any kind of shooting like this, the first thing that people want to know is why. Why did this person shoot up this newspaper, this media organization? Well, first of all, we have a media organization. And what is the media going to tell you when somebody goes to shoot up a media organization? I can guarantee you, I haven't even looked yet. You know what? Let's look right now. Let's go over to Twitchy and let's see what people might be saying about this shooting. So here's a link that's talking about a bizarre turn that the investigation is taking. This one says these Chuck Todd retweets might cause confusion about if it is or isn't okay to politicize a shooting before the facts are known. Let's see. This one looks interesting. This one, not that. This one looks interesting. We might go through and read some of those, but you know what? Let's just do that right now. So let's look at this Capital Gazette reporting so far. At least 5 people are confirmed dead and more injured following this afternoon shooting at the Capital Gazette. Suspect in Maryland newspaper office shooting is a white adult male using a long gun, reports Reuters via this story. From this fellow, CBS News reporting law enforcement sources found flashbang grenades and smoke bombs in backpack. Suspect at Capital Gazette is a white adult male, used a long gun. From this fellow, Drew McCoy, tragic story takes a bizarre turn. A law enforcement source tells one of my CBS News colleagues that Annapolis shooting suspect damaged his fingertips, so law enforcement cannot identify him that way. So this is so far not talking about anything new. At this point, I do agree that this is a very deranged individual. Apparently, according to CNN, Anne Arundel County Executive Steve Shah tells Wolf Blitzer that authorities have a name on the gunman but are not able to confirm it. So this is the only piece of new information that I've seen so far. Let's have a look at these columns from Twitchy. Shannon Watts doesn't let the truth stop her from dancing on Capital Gazette victims' graves. Please remember that the Annapolis tragedy is not normal. It is not normal to be gunned down at work, at school, in nightclubs, in our places of worship, in theaters, at college, in our communities, yet it happens every day in America. We don't have to live this way. We act. And then people are reacting to, apparently, it happens every day in America. So let's move on to this next one. Alexandria Cortez, that's the socialist that won the New York 14 Democrat primary yesterday or 2 days ago. Waste no time using Capital Gazette shooting to push a bald-faced lie. Horrifying. This is our... Without even trying, I bet I can find out where she got... I shouldn't be laughing. This is our nation's 195th mass shooting this year. I bet I know where she got that. Every town for gun safety. Number of mass shootings this year. This might not have a number. From 2009 to 2016, there have been 156 mass shootings. So it's not from every town. But this is hysterical. This is hilarious. Where did you get that number? Why would you make up something this ridiculous? Anyway, so the reaction is not what I thought it might have been. So far, we haven't made it to the point where the nightly news programs have come on and began their speculation. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those organizations began speculating as to why the shooter did this. You know, we're talking about somebody going in and shooting a media organization. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was speculation that the reason that he chose this target is because they were a media organization, not necessarily because they were a soft target, but specifically because they were a media organization. And what kind of people are going to target a media organization? Well, the media is going to tell you that the right wing targets media organizations. The right wing is going to go in and shoot up a newspaper because they're the media, because they want to make the media look bad. And it almost seems, and the conspiracy theorist in me is turning the wheels a little bit. It almost seems as if this fellow obscured his identity for the purpose of giving the media time to speculate about this before his identity is revealed. Maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not. I am not ready to pass judgment on the shooter, but let's look at the political persuasion of the Capital Gazette. Now, media organizations in general tend to lean to the left, especially on the West Coast. But this is a very small local newspaper, so let's look at their opinion columns and see what we can discern from that. We're not going to go into any great detail. We might open up a few of these stories and see what they say. Let's just go through and look. This first one, letters Mayor Buckley's plan for city dock threatens Annapolis' water view. So that's what's the word that I'm looking for? I'll think of it as soon as I move on. This is not political. We're going to skip it. RSA, primary election, a good day for women, a bad day for incumbents. Let's just have a look-see. Let's see if we can get a feeling for what the opinion of this writer is on this topic. In a democracy, elections are the final reality check, and after Tuesday's primary election, without having to squint at any tea leaves, we can see at least a few trends. Statewide, okay, so this is just for the state of Maryland, Democrats are joining fellow party members nationwide and moving toward the progressivism embodied by Bernie Sanders' political campaign 2 years ago. This seems like just a factual observance. If those voters' top concern was ousting Governor Larry Hogan, whose governing philosophy is to occupy the middle ground, they might have followed their party's establishment lead in signing on with Prince George's County Executive Rushern Baker, given his record of effectiveness within the existing political framework. But elections are often more about passion than calculation, and the passion was on the side of former NAACP Chief Ben Jealous, whose unabashedly liberal agenda includes marijuana legalization and state-based Medicare for all. Jealous is a forceful speaker, and this will be an exciting campaign. We'll know on November 6th if the party officials who wanted Baker were timid or just realistic. At least in Anne Arundel County, the Year of the Woman is no longer a mere slogan. At minimum, the fall election will put 2 women on the currently all-male county council. There are all-female general election races in Districts 1 and 5, and there is 1 woman candidate in each of Districts 2, 3, 6, and 7. Also, it's not the best year to be an incumbent. This seems, so far, like a fact-based piece, not so much an opinion piece. But it's observation, so maybe it's correctly put under the opinion heading. Nick Berry, primary results raise questions about the future of the Democratic Party unity. Let's just give this one a short little read here. Let's start with the gubernatorial race. Ben Jealous, former head of the National NAACP, defeated Prince George's County Executive Rushern L. Baker III in a crowded Democratic field with roughly 40% of the vote to Baker's 30%. Baker, the establishment favorite, was overwhelmed by a follower of super progressive Bernie Sanders, a candidate who supports free college tuition, legal marijuana, and $15 minimum wage. So can these 2 party factions come together enough to have a chance at beating one another? At beating someone this newspaper and many others always referred to as popular Republican incumbent Larry Hogan. The same issue, but in reverse, was in play in the 2016 presidential race, in which many Sanders supporters ultimately either voted for Donald Trump or stayed home, contributing mightily to Hillary Clinton's defeat. So will Baker-style liberals buy into Jealous's super progressive slate of issues? Hogan coasted during his first term, taking what election guru Dan Nataf referred to as a do-no-harm approach to governing, and this moderate stance played well on both sides of the aisle after the activist path-breaking, elimination of the death penalty, and increase in the minimum wage, and okay for same-sex marriage, of Governor Martin O'Malley. Yet I have met many Republicans who strangely say they will not vote for Hogan because he has thumbed his nose at their hero, President Trump. It is hard to fathom how prevalent this is, but it could have a big impact on the tight race. Some of the same questions were reflected in the Democrat race between Sarah Elfreth and Chrissy Holt for the District 30 state Senate seat, opened up by the retirement of John Askell. Elfreth, with the backing of House Speaker Mike Busk, and the regular liberals defeated the super progressive Holt by roughly 60 to 40%. So this, so far, hasn't had a lot of left-wing opinion in it. There might be a little bit there. Another Arce, let's hope, messy city budget finale, a sign of hope. Specific writer, need to campaign for national moral revival, more urgent than ever. This one could be indicative. Once a week for the last 6 weeks, I have marched, stood, listened, spoke, sung, chanted in chill drizzle and human heat in support of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. I want to publicly avow what has led me and will continue to lead me to put myself on the line for this campaign. Many of us walk this path, but each of us starts in a different place. My starting point was in the elegant marble lobby of a secure office building in Baltimore. I noticed that the security guard looked very sad. I asked her what was wrong. For a few moments, she struggled with her emotions and whether to trust me. Then she simply said that her son had been murdered in Baltimore, not too far from the office building where she stood. In that moment, something in me opened, and I felt, standing before the screaming mother, the real life of what so many of us who live in pain and poverty. This was my opening. More came as I worked to expand myself mentally, emotionally, and physically in spaces never been before occupied. As I made this journey, I moved both inward and outward. Inwardly, I had become more faithful in my spiritual practices in order to endure what I was seeking and sustain what I was doing outwardly. And outwardly, I began to act and speak more boldly in faithfulness to my deepening spiritual understanding. I was raised and continue to believe as a Christian. I do not think this is the only path. It is my path. I used to ask myself what I would have done if I were alive in Jesus' time. I also used to ask myself what I would have done if I had been old enough to participate in the Martin Luther King Jr. I don't have to ask myself those questions anymore. I know the answer because I'm doing it. For me, the most significant part of the Poor People's Campaign is the second half of the name. The Reverend King spoke of the intertwining evils of poverty, militarism, and systemic racism. From this vision, he organized the Poor People's Campaign. He did not live to be present for it. In the upheaval that followed his death and that of many others, and in the atmosphere created by the war in Vietnam and the social tumult of the late 60s, the campaign did not go on beyond 6 glorious messy weeks in the spring of 68. But the call of justice doesn't die, even if it is muted. Several years ago, Reverend William Barber II and Reverend Liz Theo Harris heeded the call and began reforming the Poor People's Campaign. I'm not seeing a lot of left-wing bias in here, unless there's some dog whistles in here that obviously I'm not going to hear. I'm kind of skimming over this. Systemic racism, of course, is a left-wing buzzword. Not far enough, we've gone backward. The full audit is available at poorpeoplescampaign.org. We could go visit that and see what they say they're all about. This is not the end. It started from the rally to go forward. So there's probably a little bit of left-wing bias in there, but there's not a ton, I don't think. So this newspaper seems to be fairly balanced. So why would so getting back to our question of why would someone shoot up this particular newspaper? It could be that they're upset with the newspaper because of its local dealings. It could be that they're not upset with the newspaper because of their left-wing bias, but it's kind of hard to say. We just don't have that much information right now. There is absolutely no information coming officially from the shooter or the authorities on why it was done. So let's just scroll down to the bottom of this page, see if there's any updates. I am not seeing any. Not seeing any updates as far as I can tell. So this is still a developing story. I was able to push this video a little bit longer than I thought. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I hope that you'll come back and join me for our next video. Until then, good night and God bless.